All right, so let's talk about why me and so many other people think that Kasumi is bad, right? Kasumi, when she released, she was, I wouldn't say the most OP thing ever seen in Paladins, but definitely could be considered very annoying. But I will be honest on one thing. More annoying than her is the fact that people would call her auto-aim. All right, because it's part of the conversation I've had plenty of times. I don't feel that people really know what auto-aim is, right? If you want to talk about, for example, Lex's ultimate or Lex's in Pursuit, I think it's in Pursuit, not on Pursuit, I might be wrong, or the right click of Leon or the dash of Leon, right? Those are auto aim. So you have this massive screen, and anything within the screen can be hit, even if it's not on the center. What Kasumi had, which is what a lot of people didn't really understood, I think, was essentially a cone. And if you don't know what a cone is, because some people apparently still fight this idea as if it's not correct, not true, a cone, all right, has a circular base and then all together just goes up with no lines, just like a flat surface all around, uniting itself onto one single point. You know, like the snow clones and like snow cones, ice cream cones, you know, those little cracker cones. Yeah, that. Okay, that's what she had. That little pointy thing on the end of the cone that was in your hand on the center of your screen, and the circle, the big circle on the end, would be towards the center of the screen but further away, and all the way until the point where you would have no chance to attack somebody. Now, that was part of the reason why it was so annoying. It felt like she couldn't miss. Of course not. The cone was massive and it needed to be reduced. In fact, it was so massive that if people were playing with deployables, they could definitely just jank it up for Kasumi, because if you just stood behind the deployable or just next to it, you would know for a fact that what I'm talking about here is that you would not be able to hit the person. I'm serious. Like, if you remember old Kasumi gameplay, as soon as she released, you will know that that is absolutely the biggest issue that she had at the time. So in order Hi-Rez to calm down a little bit the audience, the community with their pitchforks, they essentially made a reveal for whoever had stacks by Kasumi. Now, this was not the only issue that Kasumi had. There were bugs that, for example, would allow her to go super fast machine gun mode. It did happen a couple times. I saw clips of it. There were issues where, for example, somebody would have already passed by a wall, but somehow you would still be able to hit this person, because apparently it would have like a delay between clicking the button and essentially hitting the person. This could be server issue, not actually Kasumi herself, right? So don't get that wrong. But still, there were a lot of issues. For example, her movement ability was absolutely trash. Now it's too good, to be honest. I would have definitely removed half of the R that it had. And let's be honest, I think there should be a thing that allowed you to cancel the ability to bring the body to you sooner than just waiting for it to end, right? Because maybe I just want to go past the corner. That's it. All right, maybe something about like if you left click while on that movement ability, you would have instantly teleport your body to you. If you click the ability again, you would just teleport back to the body instead. That would have been the perfect thing, right? Also make the body CC immune. I mean, like, what the hell? Like, I'm just going away and like in a spirit mode, and then as soon as that ends, I'm being already pushed around because a con decided to grab my body. Okay, like, that's absolutely weird. Just make it like it's a deployable that can be destroyed, and if it does get destroyed, I don't know, like, you know, like a decoy, you know, you leave a decoy behind and you go like in this ghost mode that you can't be seen. That would have been a way better ability, in my opinion. And it would bring a bit more of that style of like ghost sort of thing, right? Where the enemies couldn't really see you very well, and you could just sneak up on them, and they're just shooting at your clone, thinking, "Oh, that's her," and that's not really you. But removing that, the biggest issue, it was the aim, right? People would still call it auto aim, even though many people have explained it's not auto aim, it's a cone. They nerfed the cone. But did they really? When they made the cone smaller, it made it easier to avoid deployables and shoot people. Now, I will not go around say that I didn't suggest this. Since day one, I suggested straight away, let her do double the damage on deployables and shields. Because, I mean, let's be honest, she was doing 200 damage on deployables and shields. Oh, and by the way, you probably don't know this, but she was meant to be released with 400 base damage. Yeah. And speaking of damage, weird little thing, I still don't understand why she has a card that just increases the damage on her right click. That's it. It doesn't have counterplay. Having this card even at 1 point is a must-have. All right, you're literally amping up your damage without having a talent related to it. And then one of the things that I did complain as well was that the first talent would increase fire rate based on stacks. No champion should have that. Fire rate should not be changed unless it's like some sort of an ultimate, like Tyra, right? It just shouldn't happen. And for example, Nyx has that, but Nyx is it's a bit different. Like, she's not really that powerful when it comes to DPS. But if she stays alive for a very long time, she can still back a punch. No pun intended, by the way. But back to what I was saying. She had the problem with the deployables, but then they nerfed the cone, and now you could easily avoid the deployables. But stuff like, for example, Fernando, even if the Fernando was literally facing a shield to the opposite side of you, of like he's standing with his back turned to you, you still couldn't hit him. So there was a lot of issues. Her teleport sometimes wouldn't work well. Her main talent of the fire rate was still not nerfed. Her damage card is still existing up to today. And one of the things that I've noticed along this entire time is that Hi-Rez, like they're trying to make it in a way that people stop complaining and be a bit happier. But the problem is they went too far. Too far. Like the first thing they did, which was just awkward for me, was the entire now you have to click it when you see it, which means that you can miss it because you might not actually click at the right time because there's server desync. I don't think this is the right thing to do. What I would have done in that option would have been, I would make her main fire be close to what Octavia's is, where you have to click every single time you want to shoot. That would be the first thing. Second thing, they did the animation for her missing. I would instantly remove that, because even though it was mentioned that it would not create any sort of delay between your main shots, the ones that you actually hit, it does. It does actually create that delay, meaning that you will lose a lot of DPS per second. If even just like you have a little bit of lag ping, the enemy has lag ping, doesn't matter, like there's server desync, you're gonna miss a lot, right? So definitely needs to be removed ASAP. Just let her have her thing. And I honestly think that if anything, she should have her aim not in the cone, but in a straight line. Now, here's the thing. I did speak to a developer about this. And the person did say, and it's an honest opinion. I mean, I'm okay with that opinion. Don't be mad at the person. I'm not even gonna say who it is just to avoid problems. But the person told me that, making it just like literally a point line on her aim instead of a cone would just essentially make another hit scan similar to Leon. And I was like, well, yeah, but her weapon is different. You still have to, lock on to people. You can't just shoot when there's nothing in front of you, right? So I think that that's valid, right? But still, my biggest issue of this entire thing, which I think that it's a lack of time and possibly hands on the project, and it just wouldn't be profitable. Let's be honest. I mean, imagine you're creating paladins. You have limited resources, limited staff, and you're embedded. You're given a task to keep the game alive. And now, do you guys think that if Hi-Rez just decided, you know, for one patch, let's just delay all things just so we can rework her main fire. Literally, like, just give her a brand new weapon. Do you guys think that would be a actual smart decision? Because I don't see people coming back to the game just because of that. I mean, they would have to re-release her very well, right? Vault her for a while and then just re-release her as a brand new champion with maybe some changes, saying that, like, some brand new trailer saying she's back or something. That would have to be very, very time consuming for all the developers. And even, you know, it's just not a brand new product. People don't get interested in that. So that would be the biggest issue, because if they actually had the possibility to do that, here's some of the things that I would suggest. Instead of actually the doll, you know, and the nail just shanking the doll, I would actually either throw the nails, throw kunais, use mini sights similar to Izanami on Smite, which was one of her original designs. In fact, so much so that if you look, not her current skins, because they did remove it, but if you go into the splash arts, you'll be able to see that she did indeed have mini sights on her splash arts, on the side, on her belt. That was meant to be one of her weapons. I think that the first design, it was supposed to be like some sort of a book where she would send over stuff or something. Then there was another design to be some sort of a water witch, somebody who got drowned and she became a dead witch or something. And so she had like an ARP where she could just like essentially play the ARP, and kunais or other sort of things, blades, would just come out of it. So all these designs are pretty standard, pretty simple, and still pretty effective. And one thing is certain, you can't really teach the entire community that, you know, her aim is not auto aim. You just can't. There will be people who will literally have the evidence standing in front of their noses and they will still refuse to believe it. So the best way to go about it is essentially just forget it. It was a nice try. Maybe you can still have her main fire as a secondary ability, like a right ability, right, the right mouse button. So you definitely have to rework her main fire in order to ease these people with their pitchforks. Because one thing is certain, if she was super annoying and strong before, right now she's insanely bad. Literally top 1 worst champion in this game as of right now. All right, there's some ways you can still play her with like the dolls at distance to fear enemies and such. Sure. There's even a bug that I don't know if it has been fixed where you could essentially duplicate your damage on the playables and shields per like every minute or so, going all the top to like 2000 plus damage per hit. And you can see that on a video that I did where I was hitting a Luna for like over 2000 damage, right? And I don't know if that's been fixed. But I'll tell you one thing. I love Kasumi's design. I love Kasumi's story. I would have loved her to have the mini sights like Izanami, honestly. You know, like something that she would throw like a boomerang and it would come back to her. And so it could do damage 2 times, right? So like it goes in, pierces somebody, comes back out. Maybe have some talents or cards that would just make her essentially make some sort of like a bleeding effect, you know, stuff like that. You know, there's just so much stuff. And this champion reminds me so much of Izanami, and I love Izanami on Smite just so much, right? And I was so happy when I knew, okay, this champion is coming out and it's gonna look like Izanami. And then it comes out, and I want people to understand one thing. This champion was designed by a friend of mine. Well, not just by him, but obviously for the entire team. But he was the one on, like, I think on head-on project, which was Nico. Nico is no longer on Hi-Rez. And if Nico, you're watching this, listen, I respect you, okay? I'm not saying that you did wrong. You definitely tried, and it was a good try. But unfortunately for this genre of game, I think it's too soon, because you clearly see what the community did. They clearly did not understood. They didn't try to understand. Obviously, there were problems with Kasumi that could just be fixed over like cards and such. But I understand, Nico. Sometimes you have to try things, right? Try to be bold. Try to create something new and unique that hasn't been done before. So I respect his attempt, really, really do. And I'll be honest, if we just tweaked around some numbers, changed the first talent, which they did already a little bit, but now it's like full charge, which is weird. Remove that card that increases damage on right mouse button. Make it so that it's like every shot you have to click the button. No longer have that fake fire animation. If we could just fix all of that, and return her to a little bit of what she used to be, but with a little bit less damage than she used to do, I think she could be a viable option even today, right? Like, if people would still be mad, okay, sure, but like they can just go for havens and veterans and just use walls to your advantage or whatever, shields, so on. Okay, so that's part of what I think. Okay, I think also the stacks shouldn't be messed around. Like, if you shoot one person, it leaves stacks and that's it. You don't shoot another person and steal the stacks from the second person, because it's not the first time I'm fighting a 1v2, and then because I'm trying to hit that one specific person, the other one body blocks it and screws my entire game, and I'm just dead. There's no way I can survive that. Okay, so those are things that I would change, obviously. There's a lot of things that I saw over the time that Kasumi had as issues, obviously, but now I just want to know you guys, what you guys think. What would you do if you had to rework Kasumi, right? Like, if you imagine you're designing Kasumi from scratch, you are literally stripping her from everything she has, except for her clothes, please. And you just decided, okay, we're gonna do a brand new weapon, abilities and such. I want to know what you guys would come up with. Okay, so I'll be waiting for that. Hopefully in the future we'll have some news to Kasumi. I have asked around if there's going to be changes to her. I'm gonna be honest, I can't really discuss if there is or not, because I don't want to bring false hope to anybody. Okay, but we'll see. Only time will tell.